So let's go to example 1 for redundancy. I'd like you to read it again, and the question I'm going to have for you is, do you see something in this paragraph that's unnecessary, that is what we call redundant, one or more things? So go ahead and read, and when you're ready, just raise your hands.
One hand up. I'm going to give another second to see if gives a little bit more time to finish the passage. Okay, girls, what do you see that might be redundant?
He keeps on saying then in the beginning of every of the sentences.
Good job. The word then is repeated several times. Neil, do you have a different answer?
That was the same thing I was going to say.
Okay. We said the word then. Okay, Mr. Smith?
All right. You're absolutely right. And one of the workshops that I give in schools has to do with, or one of the things that I tell students in a writing workshop, is that I found many middle school authors overuse the word then or sometimes the word next when they're describing events that happen. And they just don't seem to get the fact that you don't need to usually keep repeating then so much, especially when you're describing a series of events that occur sequentially, which means they occur one after the other. They may describe the first event, so he pulled back the covers, which was in, which you see, so he pulled back the covers. They think they have to begin each sentence that describes each event that follows the first event with the words then or next. But I think you'll agree it's obvious that after he pulls off the covers, then he stumbles into the bathroom, then he washes his face, then he puts on some clothes, then he walks to the kitchen, then he puts his book bag on his back and walks to the bus stop. So it's obvious that these things occur in sequence, so therefore you do not need to use the word then over and over and over again. So that was a pretty easy example to realize. But I brought it up because so many kids in stories that I have read just overuse the word then and next, and they don't have to. It's obvious in many cases to the reader that, hey, of course this occurs in sequence, and I could eliminate all the thens from this paragraph, and you would have just as good an understanding as you did when you read it with the thens rather. Sometimes, like in a recipe, people will number it, so step 1, step 2, step 3. So that's an easy way to do it too. Okay, let's go with example number 2. Again, looking for any words, phrases, or sentences that are redundant.
Kashvi, what do you think?
Can I just interrupt a second? Was there, let's see, was there a second sentence there? If not, I'll read. There was a second phrase in there. I just don't see it.
I'm sorry?
Oh, okay, there it is. Let's put that up there, too.
Put both of those two up, and now you can let us know if you think there's anything redundant. Kashvi, what do you think?
It's Keith saying, come on, come on.
Okay, good idea. Neil, what do you think?
It also keeps on saying, wake up.
Okay. Great ideas. Mr. Smith, what do you think?
Okay. Well, let me go with wake up first. I felt that the only redundant part that I felt was there was that after you say it's 8 o'clock in the morning and Molly was trying to wake up Maggie, her dog, I felt that was trying to wake up Maggie, her dog was redundant because in the first sentence you hear her say, wake up, come on, you have got to wake up. So that was the one I thought was redundant. As far as Maggie, come on, good girl, wake up, come on, maybe, but sometimes if you're trying to wake somebody up, you might repeat, come on, get up, time to get up. You know, you might repeat it because they're a little groggy. So that's kind of a judgment. You can either feel, come on, wasn't necessary, or I feel that it was okay. Come on, good girl, wake up. Come on, you have to wake up. Again, I felt because when someone's just waking up, or even if it's a dog, they might be a little groggy and you might have to keep repeating it. So a judgment call there. But the one that I feel was not a judgment call was the words Molly was trying to wake up Maggie, her dog. The author could have said it was 8 o'clock in the morning, period, and then gone on to describe the rest of the story. So see, a little bit in there was judgment, but I felt that that last one in the second sentence was really not judgment. It's absolutely redundant. Okay, so you want to go on to number 3. Again, we're looking for any redundancy here.
I see one hand. Give it another few seconds so you can finish the passage and see if there's anything redundant. All right, Neil, what do you think?
I don't think there's anything redundant in this.
Okay, good job. He doesn't think there's anything redundant. Does anybody have a different opinion and think that there might be something redundant in the passage? Okay. I think that's it.
Okay, Neil, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. In the first sentence, the author explains, I have to call this lady and tell her that I found her dog and she can come and pick her up. Later on in that sentence, the last sentence says, rang the phone in the dog owner's house. Well, I felt that was redundant because Molly says she has to call this lady and tell her that she found her dog, and she walked slowly toward the phone, ring, ring, ring. I felt it was obvious that the phone was ringing in the dog owner's house, Carrie Lenwood's house. So I would have eliminated rang the phone in the dog owner's house and gone right from ring, ring, ring to good morning, Carrie Lenwood speaking. The other thing that's redundant, said the lady on the other end of the phone. Well, we already know Carrie Lenwood answered the call that Molly made, so it's redundant to say the lady on the other end of the phone because we already know that it's a lady on the other end of the phone and we know who it is. So I felt that there were 2 areas there that you could cut out and not lose any meaning. I felt they were redundant. So now, Neil, you're perfectly free to feel that they're not redundant. But I'm just giving my opinion also that I thought in that case they were redundant. So can we go on to example 4? Same idea again.
You can raise your hand if you think you see something that is redundant. And remember, it doesn't always mean repeated. Sometimes redundant means unnecessary information. Okay? Yankee and Anja.
I think it's placing his chin on the black corner thing that was called the chin rest.
What is that called?
The entire passage or just part of that passage?
Just that word. Did you say chin rest?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what did you? And would you repeat your comment again about what you think about that sentence?
I think that's unnecessary because he already says that he's placing his chin on the violin.
On the chin rest.
Yeah.
So you think that the entire phrase, she thinks the entire phrase, the black colored thing called the chin rest, could go. Are there any other ideas? Okay, that's it.
Okay, well, I think she's absolutely right. I think she might have been saying only the part that said black colored thing, which was called, maybe not the whole line. So it could read, placing his chin on the chin rest. You could have eliminated on the black colored thing, which was called the chin rest. The black colored thing really doesn't, I don't think it's necessary. It really is not a very good description. Black colored thing doesn't tell you much. So I think just placing his chin on the chin rest would be enough and eliminate about 6 or 7 words there. So I think your answer is absolutely correct.
All right. Our last example.
Yep, last example.
This one might be a little bit tricky. Let's see what you guys think. Kashvi, what do you think?
It's keep repeating I.
Okay, the word I might be what's redundant. Let's see. Neil, what do you think?
I think in the second sentence, they should take out of being asleep because we already know he's asleep. So the of being asleep doesn't need to be there.
Okay, good job. So the second sentence should remove of being asleep. Are there any others that are different than that? Okay, good job, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I fully agree that of being asleep was redundant because the prior sentence already tells the reader that the subject was in a deep sleep already. And so, yes, you don't need the word of being asleep. Now, as far as, let's see, I hadn't thought about that. The second I close my eyes, that probably should be a period there. Next sentence, I was in a deep sleep that I thought no one could bring me out of. After about 2, I began to dream. I'm not sure the sentence would make sense. I closed my eyes. You could say and was in a deep sleep, I guess, and thought no one could bring me out of it. After about 2 or 3 minutes being asleep, you'd need that last I began to dream. So I think you could substitute the word and for a couple of the I's in the middle there, but that's all I could think of, really. If you're going to eliminate the word I think the word and would still, you could still put it in the sentence, would make sense. You can't just drop the I out. It wouldn't make any sense in the middle there. So, any other comments?
That's it.
Okay. Let's move on into incomplete content, verbs in the active and passive, verbs in their tenses, and grammar. When I mention incomplete content, this is my definition of it as we go through these examples, so you keep this in mind. It occurs when the author writes something in the story that makes the reader curious for more details, but the author does not give any more details. Maybe the author will introduce a character, Joe, and talk about Joe being a wild man and very interesting, and he likes to do this or do that, but then never mentions, the story goes on, but never mentions Joe again. The author could also explain something that happened. She came to the door and it was locked, and it was strange because no one was home, and then the story goes on without, you might be interested, well, why is it strange that no one's home? It's anything like that that arouses your curiosity that the author doesn't give you any, just leaves it there, doesn't give you any more details. And from an author's point of view, if you have an opportunity like that, it's a chance to expand your story, because you could talk about Joe, the character who was a wild man, and make your story longer if you wanted to. So sometimes when an author starts to raise a reader's curiosity but doesn't follow through, not only leaves the reader curious, but it takes away an opportunity to make your story maybe a little longer or more interesting. Now the next one, verbs can have an active voice, which means I take action. I run, I did this, I did that. Or passive, some action is taking on me. I hit the ball versus the ball was hit toward me. And usually a story is written in one or the other voice, either active voice or passive voice. Okay, the next one is verbs and their tenses. They can have a past, a present, or a future tense, depending on the action described by when the verb takes place. In the past, it was something that was. In the present, it could be is, and in the future, it could be will be. In my opinion, there could be more than one tense used in the story, because you could have a story that begins in the past and then comes to the present and goes into the future. Or you were in the present, you could have a flashback or a flash forward to different time periods. So as opposed to voice, which frequently is the same throughout a story, active or passive, passive. I think the tense, you could have more than one tense in a story if the time period changes. The last one, grammar, I think you probably all know what grammar is, grammar and spelling, so I really didn't go into any explanation of that. So now I'd like to start examples, and the first one we're going to look for in this paragraph is incomplete content. And after we look at that, I'm going to ask you to look for inconsistent verb tense. So let's put this first example up and look for incomplete content. There's something in there, content rather, that the author could have gone on that got your interest, but they didn't follow through with it.